After all these years, I never imagined I'd be 47 years old having a baby. I have a rare genetic disorder that my body was even attacking a baby. Miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage, and I surrendered that. We met at 26 years old. And
you were 26.
Yes, when I was 20. Yes, when I was 26
39.
years old. And I miscarried the first time when I was, 25. And then I never imagined it'd be a 20-year journey, but I miscarried
and she
time
lasted
and
5 months,
time
so you
and
can
time
imagine
again.
the devastation of that.
And I, lo and behold, I found out many, many years later that I have a rare genetic disorder that my body was even attacking a baby, and I didn't know it. And so, this divine orchestration had another plan and its own timing. I never imagined I'd be this stage of my life with a 4-year-old, but it's so beautiful, and it's so, for anybody that's on the journey and that wants to be a parent, it's worth to endure and to trust in God's timing, and to know that sometimes what appears, or the experience of loss, we just never know what is in store for us. And our daughter was so worth the wait. It's such a joy to be parents. And also I'm really passionate as well of having children later in life, just because we did it. And and it's such a beautiful experience. You have more lived wisdom and understanding. And I think, when I think of a younger version of myself, I'm so grateful that we didn't have her then, because I feel like we have more to offer.
I mean, I was pushing around 50. I was married previously, she was as well. But the woman I married previously had children from 2 different husbands, and I adopted them within my life. So I was 24, 25, and had a 17-year-old son instantly, an 11-year-old, a 5-year-old, then one on the way. And so I felt like, I had raised kids already. I've been through all those stages. And so I was like, honey, if we're going to do this, I do this by 50. I don't want to be like 55. I was 61 when we had her. I was 66. And I got to tell you, it's the greatest gift in the world. We were actually with a very famous designer when I was like 50. And we had his birthday party. And he was 60 years old at the time. And he was just had a kid, and he was going on and on about it. And I remember in my mind thinking, wow, I can't imagine. And yet now that I'm there, and then we're there together, there's no greater gift, because I'm proud of how I was as a father before, but you just have, like Sage said, so much more wisdom, so much more insight. You can live your life so differently to be able to offer to your children at this stage. So I got 5 grandchildren as well, so it's like,
oh my goodness,
my daughter is older than my grandchildren, so she's the auntie to them all.
That is funny.
So weird.
We don't allow our daughter, there's no screen time with her at this stage. There's no social media. We don't have any pictures of her in social media. We won't even say her first name, just because we want to have her own life and not to be tied into that.
Yes.
So we feel strong about that.
And the containership of just her having her own reality and not being exposed. And so we're mindful of that. On weekends, we will share like a movie or a show, and we're usually watching things that are like 30 years old, like Little Bear, Daniel Tiger. There's actually programming, it's called Stillwater, that we just discovered, that has really beautiful stories and meaningful examples. It's really beautifully done and thoughtfully done.
We've seen The Sound of Music 5,000 times.
Yes,
Mary Poppins 250 times.
Yes. I think to be intentional with what children are putting into their minds and what they're processing, I think is really important as parents. And of course, you can't, stop kids from being exposed. Life is life. But in our home, we're very mindful of what she's consuming. Yeah. And she also, because of that, she's an avid reader. She probably reads, maybe 8, 9, 10 books a day.
And she's studying 3 different languages. She's doing architecture. She does her ballet. She does gymnastics, but also she has time just to be a kid, just to be. Yeah. She has a time in the day that's just her time, do whatever she wants and so forth. So she isn't just overscheduled, but we want her to learn how to learn. And so our daughter is a creator. She isn't just learning other people's stuff. She's converting these ideas into something that she wants to create, whether it's a structure, an architectural structure, or it's a song, or it's poetry, or drawing, or something she's doing with her body to music. And so that, to me, is the ticket. teaching kids how to learn rapidly, because you're not going to be replaced by an AI. You're going to be replaced by somebody how to use an AI, right?
Yeah.
But your life has to be more than machines and more than screens, or you won't have the emotional development. So that's what we're focused on with her.
Yes. Kids these days, they're overstimulated. They're
Yes.
distracted. They're entertained every moment. And so, the energy is external. And yet there's a whole world internal that nothing really compares to. And so ever since she could actually sit up, we call it her quiet explore time. So it's her time to be with herself. And every day in the afternoon for maybe about 45 minutes, she goes up to her room and she has her own time, and she'll draw, she'll play, she'll dance, but it's her time to be with herself. And I think in a world today with so many screens and just overstimulation, like kids are really overstimulated so innocently, and then we give them all sorts of labels, and I think because they're taught that it's more sexy, that the pace and cadence of they miss life.
How did that season of recurring miscarriage affect your marriage?
It was humbling. It was, the disappointments and the loss, and also longing to be a mother. I'll tell you what happened for myself is it came from, I want to be a mother. And I got to the point where I actually didn't think that was possible. And so there was so much surrender that I let it go. I let it go. And then I recognized that, gosh, this isn't just about me wanting to be a mother. I felt called. I felt called, and it came from a different place. And
It
through
wasn't
love,
from scarcity and fear.
yes,
it was about service.
It wasn't
Wow.
about me. The first chapter where it was most painful was like, I want to be a mom. I want to be a mother so bad. And then through miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage, and I surrendered that. I surrendered that, and I was like, okay, well, our life path, and we were traveling at that time close to, around the world twice in a year. On average, 265 days of the year, we were traveling on the road and with events. And then I was like, okay, and I recognized that mothering is a quality, it's love, it's nourishment. And so I started to focus on that. I started to focus on all the aspects that I already was before I was a mother. And that was healing for me. And surrendering, in my I know mind what I wanted or what I felt my life should be, that was my call to adventure. That was my call to adventure. And I'd never be who I am without that path. I'd never be the mother I am without that path. It so schooled me. And it taught me so much, and faith, like a deeper level of faith. And we went through, then I started, a friend of mine was going through IVF, and she introduced me. We would never have our daughter if it wasn't for her, Heidi. And we went through cycle after cycle after cycle.
7 years.
7 years.
2 to 3 times a year, I'm holding her hand in every one of these surgeries, and it was brutal.
And then the conflict became, he didn't want me to do it anymore because he was worried about my health.
Oh my goodness.
And about my well-being. And yet I so wanted to, I was like, I felt it in me. At that point, I was like, I really felt that it was going to happen. And I think through creativity, I think through love, and I think who's ever, for your listeners that are out there and on that path, it's just something to hold dear to your heart. And it's something to surrender and to trust in a divine intelligence larger than ourselves. And sometimes, life begins every moment, and I think that that's what it really schooled me, is sometimes it's like a moment in time or something painful. It's that moment. It's not going to be forever. It's not going to be forever. Life keeps evolving, and you keep growing.
You became a mama to
So
everybody
many, yes.
around you,
I think that was what it really schooled me, is that like mother energy, it's love. It's our nature. To nourish, to care for life. And I really expanded that in me. Because before, as a younger woman, I was trying to control it. And I was tightening and I was disappointed, and I was frustrated, and I was sad, and I was going through that cycle of my own disappointments. And at that stage, I wasn't feeling fulfilled in life itself because I was closed, rather than opening to what life was offering me in the moment, which my life was blessed. And at times I missed that. I missed that because I was so focused on what life wasn't giving me. My mind was at a certain stage so focused on what wasn't happening that I thought should happen. And, Byron Katie, who's a very dear friend of ours, she always says, you don't have to accept what is, but life is just kinder and saner when we do. Through creativity and love and God's grace, we had a surrogate that ended up being the mother of our child. And through such a level of friendship and such a level of creativity and such a level of willingness, I think that's just what's so beautiful. And to really look 100 feet above, because we miss when we're in our pain. I'll speak for myself. When I was in my pain or in what I thought life should be, I missed the miracle that was already here right in front of me. And also just trust in, it was a divine orchestration. You and I woke up, my body's being breathed, your body's being breathed. That's a miracle. Like, that's a freaking miracle. And we miss that miracle. We miss that miracle, but there's a divine wisdom inside of our bodies that's literally breathing our existence. That blows my mind. And so trust in that. Trust in that. Because after all these years, I never imagined I'd be 47 years old having a baby. And I'm so grateful. And it was so worth the wait.
And the piece also that's part of this is, even when we've decided, we've been through IVF and everything else, and then our life was so full.
It was.
She's like, where does a baby fit here? And I said, honey, it'll fit. But she just couldn't imagine it because our life was insanely full. It still is. But what was interesting was, and then who do you trust to carry your baby? Like some stranger is going to, what's happening? And there was someone in our life that lived with us for 12 years and was our right arm for everything. And we both love as a dear friend traveling to earth with us. And she how did it happen?
Yes. Well, it was a happening. It was an unfoldment. I never asked her. She never.
One of our other staff members, right?
Yes. A very dear friend of ours, Katie, she said, I see it. I can feel it. This is destiny. And so, sometimes like the unexpectedness of a mirror outside of ourselves can show us the way.
She came to you and said, I want to do this for you guys. Is that how it happened?
It was a very dear friend of ours.
A staff member who said, I see this.
Yes,
oh my goodness.
A very dear friend of ours, a sister who's just an amazing woman. She was just so passionate. And so, it's just one of those divine
one day
moments.
And it just evolved out of a conversation. And at first it was, what? But it wasn't like a stranger. This is somebody that we love. We've traveled the earth with, dear friend, 12 years, right? So 10 years. But what was amazing, her name's Mary. And what's so amazing was then, we tried and it didn't work. And then.
So you began that journey all over again.
Even with
and then
her,
we tried again and it didn't work. It didn't happen. And so.
But then COVID hit.
Yes.
And when COVID hit, it was an interesting thing is all of a sudden we were not traveling. I was used to stadiums. All the stadiums are saying you put 100 people in a stadium, 15,000 people. So I built this studio and we found a way to reach people from this digital studio around the world. And instead of seeing 15,000 people, we had 50,000 people and then 1 million people in an event for multiple days. It's like, so we could be home. And so she goes, my instincts are we try it again.
Well, I woke up one morning and it wasn't like, let's do it. I woke up one morning and I just felt like my soul knew. I knew, like it was one of the most certain, clear things that I knew to be, and I knew that that we were going to be parents, and this was so. This is so. And also, just iteration and trying, we had a particular doctor that we were working with, and somebody introduced us to an amazing organization in Colorado, and just impeccable, these amazing, and honestly, she wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So, just not giving up on your dream, not giving up on what's possible, not closing the door. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson that schooled me is just, life's timing has a rhythm and has its seasons, as Tony just shared, and trust in something larger than yourself. And also along the path, appreciate and fall in love with what is, because there's miracles and love all around us.
Mary, who's carried our baby, when she was coming to there, then there was the uncertainty of, is she ever going to see this child again? And she's carried him, and she's been family and friends and everything else. And Sage and I, our hearts were open, and we talked about it and thought about it a lot, and said, I'm, much older. Sage is, 13 years younger than me, and Mary's another 10 years younger. It's like, if something happened to our child, we want her to be able to be to the hospital once something happened, everything else.
But sometimes, many times, often, we're traveling, to go to an event.
But as a result of that, what's happened is the state of Florida, I said, I want her to feel, if you do, honey, like she's part of this. And the state of Florida allows you to have 3 parents.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So we literally went before a judge during COVID, and the lawyers told us, first of all, they spend 6 months interviewing everybody, deep psychological research. Who are you? Where are you going? It's the most intense piece, which I'm glad they do.
They do that on the path of surrogacy.
Yeah, surrogacy.
Whatever that looks
like.
But
in this particular case, and that wasn't just surrogacy, it was for this situation. And the judge, the lawyer told us now the judge, he's not going to make a decision. She's not going to make a decision today. It's usually, he'll tell you 2-3 weeks afterwards. And it was during COVID, so we saw the judge on screen, came on, and we're holding our little one, and the 3 of us are there. And the woman judge came on and she looked at us, and there was this pause, and she looked again, she dropped her glasses down, and she looked, and then she smiled.
She's a cool lady.
Mary was really worried. It was like, what's going to happen? Is this going to prove or not? And everything else. And there was a certain amount of, and she goes, I don't ever say this, but this is already a family. Mm-hmm. She goes, I feel you.
I can feel your love.
That is beautiful.
Yes.
For each other, for your little one. This is beautiful. This is a family. I'm going to tell you, I've got some questions and things that you do with it, but she goes, I'm just telling you right now, I'm going to prove this. It was wild. It was God given. So our daughter has 2 moms. She has her mom who carried her. She got her mom here that loves her, and she comes from her, and she's got me. And so she goes, I got 2 moms and 1 dad.
And
Big Daddy.
And Mary's with your daughter right now while you guys are here doing press in LA.
That's right.
Okay, that's so cool.
Because we don't want to drag her out at this time. It's a short trip back and forth for her body, right? Yeah. She does come with us most of the time on pieces, but then Mary's with her, or we switch off each other.
And whose idea was the 3 parents thing? Like that's really
neat. Between the 2 of us, just brainstorming, and then we found out that there was a way to do it legally, but also it was like wanted her to be able to go to the hospital to have authority and make something happen. Is where it started with, but also then. So we have this unique family, these modern families that are come together, and we all love each other and support each other in every way you possibly can.
And I never imagined that. I think also part of that possibility was my parents' own journey and us growing up in a home that had the diversity of foster children. Mm-hmm. And, these children would come into our homes, and my parents would say, this is your brother and sister. You shared your room, you shared your toys, you shared your life with them. And I had no clue of the impact of that and the mirror of that and the model of that to love beyond the unit. It's chosen family.
Yeah.
It's an expanding the view of family. And my parents really were such an amazing. We were raised with different ethnicities in our home, and it really was such a rich environment growing up. And I see that fortuitousness of life coming full circle now that we have a chosen family.